Hey, Critical Analysis! Welcome to another week. We are now in week 5 of the semester and we are covering chapter 3 of our textbook. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you. We're in the content folder. Again, we're going to be down here, week 5, chapter 3, from February 15th through the 21st. Before we get too far into the video, if you want to have your textbook already pulled up, because we will be using it, you can go ahead and click on the Read to Succeed e-text, which I already have pulled up again up here. And as a reminder, if you have not already started your mastery skills, there is a folder for labs, mastery skills assessment, and you can see that your determining meaning from context was already there, and a couple of you have been in there, not very many as of yet as I'm making this recording. But your first mastery skill is in there that went with chapter 2. This goes with chapter 3, identifying topics and main ideas. So this will open with your week 5 information so that you can kind of hopefully listen to this video first and then get to work on identifying topics and main ideas. I do have my video in there. It walks you through a good portion of it, but I do also have a couple that you need to do on your own. So just another quick little plug for mastery skills. So again, if we want to scroll down, week 5, chapter 3, I'm going to do kind of like I did for chapter 2. I'm going to do 2 videos. This is your lecture video, and then your vocabulary video will be separate. So this week, chapter 3 is going to focus on determining topics and main ideas, and all of the readings will have something to do with the subject of nutrition. So in the materials folder, we won't need the study guide quite yet since that'll go in a separate video, but I do have the PowerPoint that I'm going to use for my lecture. So I'm going to have that PowerPoint up and ready here in just a moment. And then in terms of our assignments, we are not going to quite talk about our vocabulary quiz yet, but we are going to have our text and skill practice sheet and our chapter 3 practice sheet homework. So if you want to have both of those documents up and ready, we will use those here shortly. I'm going to talk about your discussion board posts in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the introduction. So I'm going to go ahead and get to, you can see I was clicking around in there, our introduction to our chapter 3 over health. So here is our introduction picture, a young lady eating all of the fries and all of the food. It says you are what you eat. Here are our learning objectives of the chapter, and hopefully if you are a health or nutrition major, this will catch your attention a little bit more. And as we go throughout the semester, hopefully all of you see your major embedded somewhere in these disciplines. All right, so introduction to the discipline of health. I would encourage you to read that little intro. And then, as I mentioned in the chapter 2 video, every chapter has like these beginning of the chapter questions. If we were face-to-face, I would use these as a basis of discussion. But because we're not, this is where your discussion post questions come from. So in your folder for this week, you'll see the week 5 discussion board post. The prompt is, how would you define a health nut or a health not? What are some characteristics of these groups of people? So obviously we have one that healthy choices, one that is not healthy choices. And so how would you define those, and what are some characteristics of the people in those groups? So please make sure that you post your original response by Wednesday for week 5 attendance, and then also make sure that you're interacting with your classmates. I do have like a little spreadsheet where I keep track of interactions so that you can get those participation points. So again, make sure you answer that question. It comes from the beginning of our chapter, the questions there to kind of get us on the thought process of thinking about the rest of these readings. All right, so we will get back to our book, but I'm going to go ahead and use our PowerPoint to walk us through the concepts of topics and main ideas. Now, the learning objectives, these really kind of focus on other things within the textbook. This is going to refer back to chapter 2's concept of vocabulary. And so this is a nice refresher, but I'm not necessarily going to spend time on it right now in the lecture. It just kind of throws back to, vocabulary is an integral part of every field. And so this just is a reminder of those different ways to kind of build vocabulary. So now let's get to the main piece here. Hopefully, as I've been saying, topics and main ideas, you've been thinking like, oh, what do I already know about this? Or if you haven't been, start thinking of that now. What do I already know about topics? What do I know about main ideas? Why is this important? How have I used this? So topics and main ideas, well, you need to know this because as I previously mentioned, like 85% of what you learn in college comes from what you read. And so as a college student, you're expected to read and comprehend information on your own. Like, you need to know this information, and being able to walk away or have the gist of what you're reading is really imperative. If you can read a paragraph but then have no idea what it was about, that was wasted time. So finding the topic, finding the main idea is really important to being able to enhance comprehension. So you have to understand overall the author's message. So topics and main idea, they are not the same thing, although they do work together. A topic is a word, name, or phrase. It's the who or what that the author is writing about. Here's a quick little example. When students attend college, they find that there are many possible career paths in the healthcare field. Some include pediatrics, geriatrics, mental health, emergency medicine, and nutrition. So what's the topic? You simply ask yourself, who or what is this about? What word, what name, what phrase? Well, if I were to look at that again, I could come up with that these are talking about careers in healthcare careers. That's a phrase. That's who or what. And I know that that's right because they give me examples of healthcare careers in that paragraph. So when you are finding the topic, some people like to think of it as the subject. And that could be helpful, but it's the first thing you should do. And I should say that when we're talking about this, we're talking about one paragraph at a time. We're not talking about multiple paragraphs. When I say topics and main ideas, we're just focusing on one paragraph at a time. So the topic is the first thing. First thing you should do, who or what is this about? Knowing the topic will put you on the right track to finding the main idea. It's going to build toward that main idea. So again, a topic is a word or phrase. It's not a complete sentence. If you want to think of it as like a subject, that could be helpful, and those are some examples. So how do you find the topic? Again, pose this question, who or what? Who or what is this about? It's going to either be repeated over and over or referred to so that hopefully it becomes pretty clear what the author's topic is. All right, so now that you found the topic, the who or what, that can lead you to find the main idea, sometimes called the topic sentence. They're interchangeably used there. It's the most important point the author wants you to know about the topic. So great, you found the topic, but what am I supposed to know about the topic? The main idea then kind of completes that sentence. So same paragraph example, but then this time, instead of just the topic, we put this into a complete sentence. Students have many possible career paths in healthcare. So this kind of leads to the discussion on, well, what does a main idea look like? How do I find it and where do I find it? So main ideas are often the first sentence of a paragraph. I would say like a good 95% of the time. If an author directly states their main idea, that first sentence is a good bet. But you can't count on it because main ideas can also be at the end, in the middle, or they can repeat it at the beginning and the end. You have to go through those steps that I mentioned. Who or what? And then what am I learning? That's what's going to help direct you to the main idea, if it's in the paragraph at all. Because sometimes an author doesn't have to state their main idea. They can imply it. They can give you clues. They can give you details. And then as a reader, you put it into your own words. The key thing is that a main idea is never a sentence, it's never a question. It's always a complete sentence. So main ideas are not questions. They are complete sentences, and it's the most important point the author is making about the topic. It's also the most general. It is the most general sentence in the paragraph or that you create, because those of you who had me for technical comprehension, you might remember my horrible artistic skills, but I sometimes call the main idea an umbrella idea, and I usually draw an umbrella, and it demonstrates that a main idea is supposed to cover everything in the paragraph. It is supposed to tie it all together. It is a summary sentence. And if you wanted to, there's a couple like example paragraphs you can look at and pull the PowerPoint up and practice to see if you get them. But again, when you are trying to come up with a main idea, whether it's directly in the paragraph because the author did the work for you, or it's implied, meaning you have to put it in your own words, check yourself and see, okay, this is my main idea. Do the rest of the sentences tell me more about this? Do they get more specific? Because remember, main idea is the most general idea in the paragraph. Do the other sentences tell me more about this? If they do, you're on the right track. If they don't, you probably chose incorrectly. So you always choose a sentence that is general enough to include the rest of the details and ask, do most of the other sentences tell me about this idea? Is this a good summary of the paragraph? If your paragraph is saying, there are many ways to cut out watching TV, and then it talks to you about like reading a book, going outside for a walk, you don't want to say the main idea is to stop watching TV, you want to go for a walk, because that's not the only detail the paragraph talked about. So you don't want to get too specific. Your main idea has to be general enough to cover everything in the paragraph. Okay, so that is the meat of the concept for this chapter. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up your Chapter 3 practice sheet homework. And you can see here there are 8 paragraphs, and it's a mix. Some of these paragraphs have a sentence in which the main idea is right in the paragraph. It's right there. All you have to do is highlight it. The author did the work for you. Other paragraphs, you have to do the work. You have to really think, what is this about? And put the pieces together into a complete sentence. So I'm going to do 2 of them with you to kind of demonstrate. And so I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to, let's see. Okay, I'm going to do number 6. Soccer players learn how to dribble and pass the ball. They also learn how to control the ball so they can eventually score. Most importantly, soccer players learn how to work together with their teammates. Soccer players learn many skills when playing soccer. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my lines just for the minute because I don't like how they make me. So hopefully you can clearly tell that the topic is soccer or soccer players. But if I were to write that on the line and say, okay, that's my main idea, that's wrong, because topics are not main ideas. Topics help you find the main idea, but this by itself is just a topic. It is not the main idea. So now I know my topic, and I say, okay, what am I supposed to be learning about soccer players? Okay, well, they dribble, they control, they do lots of things. Oh, wait a minute. This sentence seems to really summarize that. Those of you, again, who had me in the past, you know I love my cheat words. Words like many, several, various, different, because they take ideas and summarize them. So because my main idea is right in my paragraph, I'm fine if you just underline or highlight it like that. Now, what I do is I turn my main ideas into a question to see if the rest of the paragraph can answer that question. And if it can answer it, I know I found the right main idea. So if I took my main idea and turn it into a question, what skills do soccer players learn when playing soccer? Well, they learn dribble and pass, control the ball, work together. My paragraph answers my question. So I know that I found the right main idea. Okay. So again, you need to pick a sentence that is most general. Because if I picked, for instance, if I said, oh, this is my main idea, then the entire paragraph would have had to just talked about dribbling and passing. And we know it talked about more than that. So you have to pick the sentence or create a sentence that captures everything in it. All right, let's do one now where the main idea isn't there. Let's look at number 8. People who are obese are likely to develop type 2 non-insulin dependent diabetes. In fact, 90% of obese people develop this disease. 70% of obese people will develop heart disease, and 33% will develop hypertension. Colon and breast cancers are also linked to obesity. Okay, so I know just from the fact that it is repeated over and over that my topic is obesity. But I can't leave it like that because topics are not full main ideas. So now what am I learning about obesity? Well, here it talks about diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, colon, breast cancer. So I cannot just say obesity causes breast cancer. Because while it says that, that's not the only thing this paragraph states. What I could say, though, obesity leads to many different diseases. If I turn that into a question, what diseases does obesity lead to? My paragraph answers it. Not only that, I used a little cheat word there, many, various, several, because it did talk to me more than just one disease. It gave me multiple diseases. So again, I can't just pick one because that wasn't the sole focus. If I said that, this was my main idea, the whole thing had to talk about either colon or breast cancer, and we know it didn't. Okay, so that's what you're doing for the rest of these paragraphs, is either identify if the main idea is already there, you can just highlight it, or if you need to put it in your own words, go ahead and write it, or rather type it right underneath it. So that is, if you go back into Blackboard, there is a Dropbox right there, Chapter 3 practice sheet and Dropbox. You will drop it right in there, and that's due by Sunday as well. All right, now let's go ahead and before I move on, sorry, if you ever feel like you need extra practice, because if we were face-to-face, we would be spending about 3 class periods on this. And in those class periods, I pass out lots of papers, lots of practices, lots of in-class work on this, workshopping and sharing different main ideas. So if you ever feel like, yeah, you know what, I just need a little bit more help, please let me know. And I have lots of extra sheets I can email you. I can give you some links, and then I can give you some feedback. Whenever you attach and submit this, I will still give you feedback and say, okay, yeah, great main idea, or think about maybe how you worded this. I will still give you feedback, but if you want more informal feedback just to help you with this concept, just ask and I can send that to you. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and have my Chapter 3 TSP up and going. So here it is right here, and that means I need to also have my Chapter 3 pulled up. So I have my text sheet printed off in front of me, so I'm going to kind of be using that as I go, but I will still flip back. So what we're doing now in our text sheet, Roman numeral 1, Part A, it says, after reading Fat Chance. So I'm going to scroll down, reading number 1. Here it is. I'm going to go to it. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and if you need to pause it, however you like to work this out, you're going to read this article, and you'll see in a minute why those paragraphs are highlighted. You're going to read this article, and then as part of your text sheet, it says to revisit paragraphs 2, 3, 6, 8, which on mine I have highlighted. I am pretty sure because I highlighted mine, you might be able to see that same highlighting on yours. Sometimes it links, sometimes it doesn't. Even if it doesn't, over in the right-hand corner, you'll have numbers. Mine is kind of cut off with the recording right now, but you'll have numbers. So it wants you to look at paragraphs 2, 3, which are right there, and then 6 is right here, and 8 is right there. You're going to look at those 4 paragraphs and read them through one more time, and just write down on the blanks the topics. So this is going to give you practice coming up with the topics, just the who or what. Remember, a topic is just a word or phrase. So you are not having to write a full sentence here. I know the lines are a little long. These are words or phrases. So I want you to try that on your own for Part A. So reread those paragraphs in that article titled Fat Chance and come up with the topics for just those paragraphs listed. All right, Part B then, you have 2 articles to read for this one. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get back out. Part B says you're going to read Butler's Agree to a School Ban on Soft Drinks, as well as My Soda, My Choice. So I'm going to scroll down and we're going to click right here. Here's the first one. School Ban on Soft Drinks. Okay, so here's like the little article, and you see it's dated, it's from 2006, but some of these discussions still come up even now. And then as you get done reading that one, I would just kind of click down so it continues. Here's the letter of response, My Soda, My Choice. Go ahead and read through there. And then you can see that there's some multiple choice questions. So reading comprehension check. You are answering questions 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, so pay attention to which one it is asking. It says, up here, according to the article, which would be the first one, Butler's Agree to a School Ban. And then down here, it starts to ask in the letter, what is the topic of the letter? So pay attention when it shifts. Okay, so pay attention to the fact that it shifts. Again, number 7 is still the article, and then all of a sudden it shifts to the letter. So you want to read those 2 and then answer those questions. Okay, next is Part Roman numeral 2, So again, if I'm kind of referring back here, you're answering those questions there. And then we're going down to Roman numeral 2, part A. This is practicing topics and main ideas again. So there's a little bit of clicking around here. We're going to, it says, after you've spent some time making sure that you are comfortable with, topics and main ideas, we're going to get into, okay, you can see here, we want to go to page 105, right here, practice 1. There's lots of clicking. Passage 1, okay. And you'll see that passage 1, 2, 3 are very close together. And I'm going to go ahead and do passage 1 and 2 together with you. So passage 1, how much sleep is necessary to maintain a healthy lifestyle? Many people say they need at least 8 hours to feel refreshed in the morning. Researchers say the amount of sleep one needs depends on the individual. Some can thrive on as few as 6 hours of sleep, while others lag behind if they sleep fewer than 11. So all you are doing for this one is just the topic. Hopefully you could tell that I use the word sleep multiple times. So that is the topic in this particular paragraph. So on your text sheet, you would just simply write on this line, sleep or sleeping. You can even say like amount of sleep. Remember, topics are words or phrases. Let's go back to passage 2. Swimming is one of the healthiest activities for your body. Unlike running or weightlifting, it, meaning swimming, will put little physical strain on your system. The water helps support your body and allows you to build both muscle tone and get the cardiovascular workout you need. All right, so this one, even though it only uses the word swimming once, it refers to it, and the water. So it's talking about swimming, even though it doesn't say the word, like sleep up here was mentioned a couple times, even though it doesn't repeat swimming as often, it is still being referred to. So that is our topic here. Passage 3, I'm going to have you go ahead and do on your own. Same thing. Go ahead and read that paragraph. And on the line right there, you'll write the topic. All right, after that, you'll see that you have practice 3 and practice 4, certain passages. This is for full main ideas. So now you're not just going topics. You should have full, complete sentences here. So if I go back, I'm going to click out of here a little bit. I'm going to go to practice 3 because that's going to be my first one. And I'm going to be passage 1. I'm going to click, there we go. And here is my first passage. So I'm doing passage 1. I am also doing passage 5. And then I will have to go back to practice 4 to do passage 2 for the very last one. Okay, I'm going to do practice 3, passage 1 together with you. So practice 3, passage 1. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read this, and we're going to do this one together, and then the other 2 will be on your own. America has become weirdly polarized on the subject of weight. On the one hand, we've been told with almost religious certainty by everyone from the Surgeon General on down, and we've come to believe with almost religious certainty that obesity is caused by excessive consumption of fat, and that if we eat less fat, we will lose weight and live longer. On the other, we have the ever-resilient message of Atkins and decades worth of best-selling diet books, including The Zone, Sugar Busters, and Protein Power, to name a few. All push some variation of what scientists will call the alternative hypothesis. It's not the fat that makes us fat, but the carbohydrates, and if we eat less carbs, we will lose weight and live longer. So hopefully you can tell that the topic of this paragraph is weight. They mention it a couple times, and they kind of mention that there's 2 viewpoints. There are some saying, okay, we have to believe that we have to talk about our fat, we're going to lose weight, we're going to live longer, and then this is like the carbohydrates. So we know that there's 2 kind of opposing views. So for me, this very first sentence, America has become wildly polarized on the subject of weight, could be the main idea, could be a good main idea. I don't know how many of you talk like that. I don't talk like that. So I could reword it if I needed to. America has different views on the subject of weight, or America does not agree on the subject of weight. Saying it that way is okay. Now, if you wanted to copy what the author said word for word, that's okay too, because that's their main idea. All right, and so that would go right here. Americans do not agree on the subject of weight. And then you're going to do those two on your own. All right, the last part is another TED Talk, a teacher growing green in the South Bronx. We're not talking about that kind of green, okay, y'all? We are talking about growing crops and things. So if we go back here, we're going to scroll down, and you'll see the TED Talk right here. We're going to go there. This is another one where, here we go, you can do the pre-reading. Here's the actual article. I think it always looks overwhelming in the textbook, especially online. If you wanted to, I just Googled the name, Teacher Growing Green in the South Bronx. It's about 13.5 minutes. He has a lot of energy, so you could listen to this if you wanted to. And instead of reading or in addition to your reading, you can have it playing as you read, whatever you would like to do. When you are done reading or listening, you are going to answer questions 1 and 4 right here. He begins his speech by claiming 70% of kids or labeled learning disabled would not have been had they had proper prenatal nutrition, discuss that relationship. And then you're also answering question 4 down here. So those are located right here on what would be the back of your text sheet. When you're done, make sure you save that and get back into Blackboard and go ahead and drop it in the text and scale practice sheet. All right, as a real quick recap of this video, we did talk about the concepts of topics and main ideas, and we practiced, a few examples. If you want additional non-graded practices, let me know. I am certainly willing to send them to you. You are then completing your original post in the Week 5 discussion board based on the topic of nutrition by Wednesday for Week 5 attendance. You are going to submit the Chapter 3 practice sheet homework by Sunday and the Chapter 3 text and skill practice sheet by Sunday. Okay. In a separate video, I will upload and talk about the vocabulary and the vocabulary quiz for Chapter 3. Okay. Hope you're all doing well. If you have any questions, reach out. Have a great week. Bye.